Picture this, you're a grown adult, somewhere between your 30s and 40s. You've built a life, a career, maybe even a family. On the surface, everything seems stable. But then something small happens. Maybe your partner makes a passing comment, your boss gives a harsh critique, or a stranger interacts with you in a way that stings. Suddenly, you're no longer an adult. Your chest tightens, your thoughts spiral, and a wave of vulnerability floods in. You feel small again, powerless, overwhelmed, just like you did when you were 8 years old and couldn't live up to your father's unreachable expectations, or when you were 12 and your emotionally distant mother made you feel invisible. In that moment, regardless of all your accomplishments, you're a child once more. Why does this old wound still hold power over you? And more importantly, how can you finally heal it? In this video, we'll explore 3 transformative steps, rooted in Carl Jung's insights and my own healing journey, that can help you reconnect with and mend your wounded inner child. These aren't quick fixes or surface-level techniques. They're deep practices that have helped countless people break free from emotional patterns that have controlled them for decades. Let's talk about what's truly happening inside. Many adults carry within them a child who never felt safe, seen, or truly loved. That wounded part doesn't just stay buried in the past. It shows up in your adult relationships, your fear of abandonment, your perfectionism, or your desperate need for control. Does any of this sound familiar? You overreact to mild criticism, interpreting it as proof of your unworthiness. You avoid deep intimacy because getting too close feels like inviting rejection. You exhaust yourself trying to earn love through achievement, even though you logically know love shouldn't have to be earned. These aren't adult responses. These are the behaviors of a wounded child acting through an adult body. Carl Jung understood this deeply, both as a pioneering psychologist and as a human being with his own childhood scars. He often wrote about how his cold, emotionally distant upbringing haunted his adult life. His father, a clergyman, spoke eloquently about God, but couldn't connect emotionally with his own son. Jung described feeling deeply alone, sometimes even invisible, within his own family. He recognized something profound: if we don't heal our childhood wounds, they don't just vanish. Instead, they become unconscious forces that drive our adult behavior. Our wounded inner child becomes what Jung called a complex, a cluster of emotions, memories, and beliefs that can hijack our adult consciousness. But Jung also offered hope. He wrote, "In every adult, there is a child who is still growing, who is never complete, and who requires constant care, attention, and education." Healing begins not by fixing the adult, but by turning inward to listen to that inner child. The first step in healing is simple but profound. You must learn to recognize when it's your wounded inner child speaking, not your adult self. That critical voice whispering, "I'm not good enough," that's not your rational, mature judgment. It's the emotional echo of a childhood wound. The fear that says, "If I make a mistake, I'll be abandoned." That's not adult wisdom. That's the child who learned that love was conditional. The belief that says, "I must be perfect to be worthy," that's not reality. That's the child who was never allowed to be fully human. It's like having an old tape playing in the background of your mind, influencing your thoughts and choices without your awareness. Until you can separate your adult voice from your inner child's voice, you'll remain stuck in outdated patterns. Let me give you a clear example. Maybe you avoid asking for help, telling yourself it's about independence. But if you dig deeper, you might realize that as a child, needing others led to disappointment or shame. Your current resistance isn't independence, it's an unhealed wound still speaking through you. Here's a practical way to begin this work. Start tracking moments of emotional overreaction. When you feel disproportionately angry, ashamed, or afraid, pause and ask yourself, what age does this emotion feel like? That simple question helps separate your adult self from your wounded child. Jung called this process withdrawing projections. It means realizing that much of your suffering originates within, not from others. It's about recognizing your own wounds instead of seeing them mirrored in the outside world. As Jung wrote, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. When someone triggers you, they're often touching an unhealed part of your inner child. Once you've learned to listen to that child, you can begin the most important conversation of your life. The second step in healing is what modern psychologists call reparenting. Though Jung described it differently, at its core, it means becoming the adult your younger self needed but never had. This isn't about blaming your parents. They did what they could with what they had. It's about realizing that now, as an adult, you have the power to give your inner child what they were once denied. If no one ever comforted you when you were sad, begin practicing self-compassion today. When your inner critic attacks you, don't respond with shame. Respond with the patience and kindness you'd offer a child learning something new. If your emotions were dismissed or punished, give yourself permission to feel them now, without judgment. Emotions are not emergencies, they're messages. If your boundaries were violated, it's time to honor your needs and limits. Say no without guilt, and yes without fear. A powerful technique is visualization. Picture your younger self sitting beside you. When you feel fear, anger, or shame, imagine holding that child and saying the words they always needed to hear. You didn't deserve that. I see you. You're not alone anymore. Jung practiced something similar through active imagination, a technique where he dialogued with different parts of his psyche, sometimes even writing letters to them and letting them respond. This isn't fantasy. Neuroscience now confirms that emotional healing often requires new experiences that counteract painful memories. By creating nurturing inner experiences, you're literally rewiring the neural pathways shaped by childhood trauma. As Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." By consciously engaging with your inner child, you reclaim the power that unconscious wounds once held over you. But healing isn't complete without the final step: integration. Many people believe healing means eliminating pain or rising above the past. Jung knew better. True healing doesn't silence the wounded parts. It brings them into relationship with your adult self. This is crucial. You don't heal by becoming someone new. You heal by becoming wholly yourself. That sensitivity you once despised becomes intuition. The fear of abandonment, when faced with compassion, becomes a deep appreciation for connection. Perfectionism, when balanced with self-acceptance, becomes a healthy drive for excellence without crushing pressure. Integration means your wounds become wisdom, your vulnerabilities become strengths, and your fragmented self becomes whole. Jung called this process individuation, not the pursuit of perfection, but of wholeness. The privilege of a lifetime, he wrote, is to become who you truly are. Think of it this way: you're not discarding puzzle pieces that didn't seem to fit. You're finally assembling them, seeing the full picture of who you are. When you integrate your wounded inner child, something remarkable happens. The past no longer controls you, because it's no longer separate from you. It becomes a conscious part of your story, not an unconscious force shaping your behavior. And this is where real freedom begins. When you heal your inner child through these 3 steps, recognition, reparenting, and integration, you finally become capable of true choice. Before healing, your reactions were automatic. Someone criticized you, you collapsed. Someone came close, you pushed them away. Someone offered you a chance, and perfectionism froze you. But now there's space between stimulus and response. When criticism comes, you can pause, recognize the child's fear of rejection, offer compassion, and respond as an integrated adult, taking what's useful and discarding the rest. This isn't just psychological theory. It's life-changing transformation. Your relationships deepen because you no longer expect others to heal wounds they didn't cause. Your work becomes more meaningful because it's no longer fueled by a need to prove your worth. Your emotions become valuable signals, not overwhelming storms. Healing your inner child is not self-indulgence, it is self-liberation. The adult you are today was shaped by a child who did their best to survive. Now it's your turn to give that child what they never had: security, love, and presence. As Jung wrote, loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important. Maybe the most important conversation is the one between your adult self and the child who's waited so long to be heard. Remember this: healing doesn't mean the pain never existed. It means it no longer controls you. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who may still be healing in silence. Sometimes the greatest gift we can offer one another is the permission to honor our wounds. And don't forget to subscribe. Let me know in the comments which of these 3 steps feels most challenging for you right now. Until next time, be gentle with yourself.